Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Lasham Daily Briefing on Thursday, the 19th of February, 2026. Starting off, the synoptic picture here, midnight last night, and see a low here centered just off the southwestern tip of the UK. With that, a lot of very messy air and a series of untidy occlusions here. This is moving through, bringing the wet and windy weather that we've had overnight and possibly more into today. Bit of a high pressure here to the northeast up towards the Scandies. That's moving down a little bit compared to where it has been. And we've also got this ridge of high pressure coming up from the general sort of Azores direction. But for the time being, we're still very much dominated by low pressure, and the same will continue today. By midday, you can see a little bit of a gap in those occlusions there. So we're not expecting a huge amount of rain today. However, I think based on the amount that we have had, temp split, we're going to have a fairly low cloud base. So that may make our lives a little bit difficult today. Coming up in the next few days, that high pressure doing its very best to come in almost routing past the UK to the east before it actually reaches us. And that low pressure continuing despite that high to the south. That's into the weekend, still messy with fairly tight isobars, so wet and windy with some more frontal activity. Back to today, however, looking at the SATPIC, see pretty solid clouds in the south of the UK, a little bit of a gap sort of southeast. But certainly for us, solid overcast, and then not to mention the fog and mist. Rains or passing showers, quite messy, curved fronts there, as we saw on the synoptic. The Met Office prediction for rain, just run that through. See most of those showers sort of passing earlier on this morning. The rest of the day being fairly dry, with a few passing showers later on, well into the evening. The TAF from Odium there showing northerly wind to begin with, 360 degrees, 8 knots, 700 meters viz with fog and overcast at 100 feet. Early, sort of mid-morning, that's becoming 10 kilometers of visibility with no significant weather, but broken at 800 feet. And then between 11 and 3, broken at 600 feet, the prob 30 of 6,000 meter viz with a light rain and drizzle between 11 and 3. And that's becoming scattered at 3,000 feet from about 3 o'clock onwards. So really not very positive there, very low cloud base, albeit possibly broken when it does clear, when the fog does clear, I should say, with the possibility of some light rain. But it looks like the sort of any window that we would get would be between 3 and 6. If there's anyone still around, then we can see about doing some flying. Bambra, I imagine, is very much the same, swinging northeasterly actually, so 030 degrees, 6 knots, 10 kilometers of viz, broken at 500 feet. And 6,000 meter viz with drizzle as a tempo between 9 and 6. Also a prob 40 in this morning for 2,000 meter viz with drizzle, excuse me, mist, and broken at 100 feet. I'll spare you the rest of that. It sort of continues on with a sort of improvement in the weather from about 3 o'clock. We'll just refresh the 214 there, winds aloft, northwesterly to the south of us, 320, about 30 knots at flying height, and to the north of us, a little bit more northerly and slightly northeasterly, northeasterly, of between 360 and 010 at 10 there, so a bit calmer to the north. We can expect somewhere in between. On the ground, more or less due northerly, looking at windy here across the airfield, then push that through to later on today into the afternoon. We can see we get a bit more of a westerly component to that. Met Office showing wind speeds around 9 to 10 knots, gusting up towards 20. And you can see that coming around more to the west as the day progresses. Humidity very high, 99% to begin. The low we'll see are dropping off towards sort of 90 by sort of 2 o'clock time. But this is going to be one of the factors for us today, very much is the just how wet the air is and the ground is, and getting that cloud base to rise is going to be a little bit trickier. GFS showing the temperature in the warmest part of the day is 4 degrees with a dew point of 3. So that sort of says a lot there. Currently, we're at 4.7, so slightly warmer than predicted, and that's very much plateaued for all morning. And a dew point of 3.2, so already not a great split. That's the webcam on the south side looking west. You see a light northerly, perhaps a north-northeasterly component to the wind there, and very, very restricted viz, no more than sort of 30, 40 meters if you were lucky. Cross section here on Skysight showing more or less what everything else is saying. Fog and mist burning off a little bit to leave our very low cloud base. They're showing more or less overcast here, really, rather than broken, maybe slightly less solid for the initial part of the morning. And then just showing a bit of rain later on around 4:30 or 5 o'clock. So if this is in fact what we see, it might be slightly trickier for us to operate, but we'll wait and see what weather brings. Nothing to concern us as far as nose times are concerned, given the forecast for today. So we'll look at glider allocations. There's 2 K21s and a K13 for booked flying today. K21 on the casual list and a K13 for trial lessons, should there be any. Although I suspect those will be cancelled if there are any scheduled. There is some single seater availability, and the simulator is available as normal, so make use of that if we can't get out to fly. No movements this morning as far as we're concerned with 2XL. And in summary, we have low pressure off the south coast. That's bringing a series of occlusions passing through. Fog and mist to begin, becoming low overcast for the remainder of the day, possibly broken depending on which TAF you read. And there's a moderate northerly flow becoming northwesterly from late morning. We do fly, it'll be on runway 27 full winter op, so that's taking off and landing on the runway. And there'll be cables on the north side. There's that airfield setup there. So launch point set forward, winching south of the centre line on the hard and Eritonian north of the centre line. Landing short on 27 and stopping by the normal aiming markers there. And then please be towed or pull the gliders up. I don't want to see anyone taxiing up to the back of the launch pad. That's all from me this morning. We'll see the club post shortly. I hope we can get something useful out of today and keep it safe. Thank you very much.